Welcome back. Bahrain Grand Prix just finished. Thought it was a decent first rate, not amazing, but still pretty good. So let's get started. Verstappen on pole, Perez alongside him. All cars won the softs to start except for Magnussen, who was started on hards. Lap 1, poor start for Perez. He goes behind Leclerc, and Stroll gets ahead of Russell. But then there's contact between the two Aston Martins, and both end up falling behind the two Mercedes. Bottas gets up to 9th, and on lap 2, Bottas had been up 4 places, and Hulkenberg and Zhou were down 4 places. Another thing about the contact, looked like Stroll just went a bit too, didn't brake hard enough and just tapped the back of Alonso. It looked like it could have been a puncture, which would have been disastrous for Alonso's race. Luckily, it seems like there was very minimal damage. Lap 3, Stroll starts putting pressure on Bottas. Hulkenberg's front, they showed that Hulkenberg's front wing end plate had broken off. Albon and Ocon both passed Norris, so Norris having issues quite early. Lap 5, Stroll passes Bottas for 8th place at turn 1. Lap 6, Russell starts closing in on Hamilton and starts talking over the radio, asking if Hamilton's managing or if he's struggling, or trying to suggest that there should be team orders basically to switch the two drivers. Lap 9, gap is building behind the Aston Martin, kind of confirming what we knew from testing and from free practice, that there's really a really solid 4 teams for Red Bull, Ferrari, Aston Martin, and Mercedes, and then there's a big gap back. Of course, Red Bulls, as we'll find out, were in a league of their own anyway, but really strong 4 teams. It's great to see though. Let's see, so Hamilton struggling, as I said, according to Russell's radio with his engineer. Lap 10, Gasly is the first driver to pit, and he goes on the hards. Lap 11, Tsunoda and Norris pit as well. Okay, so Piastri passes Hulkenberg for 13th at this point. Lap 12, Zhou overtakes Hulkenberg for 14th, so Hulkenberg and the Haas struggling with tires today, unfortunately kind of confirming their fears from free practice and from testing. Let's see, yeah, so at the same lap, Bottas, Albon, Hulkenberg, and Vries all pit for new tires. And Russell is attacking Alonso at this point. Yes, Russell attacking Alonso. 13th, Ocon, start position was noted, so he was under investigation for being slightly out of position at the start. He didn't think that was fair, and that was really the start of the end of Ocon's pretty miserable race today. But Hamilton and Zhou both pit. Alonso passes Russell really hard at T4, and Russell is fighting hard, so there's good on-track action between Alonso and Russell at this point. Let's see, lap 14, Leclerc pits, and Sainz, Russell pit as well. Russell unfortunately has a slow stop for about 5 seconds, so that hurts him a little bit. First retirement of the race, so Piastri pits. They said that there was some issue, it seemed like, with the wheel, so they tried replacing it, and it didn't fix the issue. So Piastri was first retirement, only 14 laps into his F1 career. Not great, generally absolutely rotten day for McLaren today. Yeah, so Russell comes out behind Bottas, so they're showing that the undercut's working pretty well here. Lap 15, Verstappen pits, and Alonso also pits for hards. Let's see, Ocon, they announced that Ocon was given a 5-second penalty for the start box infringement at this point. Lap 16, Stroll pits, and they've announced that Piastri is retired. They've wheeled the car into the garage. Alonso battling Russell hard, behind, and Bottas is kind of coming up to the back of them. And yeah, undercut powerful, as I said before. Lap 17, Alonso passes Bottas at turn 4 for 6th place. So Bottas had taken advantage of the undercut, was getting ahead, but was getting passed basically immediately, showing how strong those top 4 teams are, I think. Lap 18, Perez pits for soft. Russell tries to pass around the outside of turn 4 for 7th. And Norris pits again. So yeah, Russell passes Bottas at that point for 7th. Norris pits again. So already lap 18, and Norris is on his second stop of what would be many stops for Norris, unfortunately, today. And it was an 11-second stop. So they showed at the stop that they're injecting some kind of hydraulic fluid or something into the car every stop. So I'm not sure what on earth is going on with their car. But yeah, not ideal for McLaren today. Let's see, yeah, Williams looked strong. Both Albon and Sargent looked good. They won the soft tires at this point and looked very strong. And similar strategy to the Red Bull, who both went soft, hard, while the others went soft, hard, and then back to soft again, for reasons that we'll talk about later. Lap 20, Stroll overtakes Bottas for 8th, and Ocon is now under investigation for not serving the penalty properly. So Ocon had pitted at lap 1 or 2 because of damage with his front wing, and then they showed the replay of that, but it turns out that that was not when he served the penalty. So it seemed like, my guess is that they didn't wait the full 5 seconds before touching the car. So when you serve a penalty at your pit stop, you have to wait the full length before you can actually touch the car. You can't touch the car or work on it during the penalty, even if it's not moving. And he was given another 10-second penalty on top of that. Lap 24, Norris and Ocon are having a very lonely race for 18th, so Norris overtakes Ocon for 4th at turn 4. Lap 25, Perez very close behind Leclerc, so that race pace from Red Bull starting to show up. Lap 26, Perez goes down the inside of turn 1, and Leclerc tries to get back at him at turn 4, but doesn't manage to do so. Lap 27, Gasly pits again, so Gasly doing a very aggressive second stop, and so do Albon, Tsunoda, and Hülkenberg. So I think at this point they were all on, they were all going to be on hard tires, I think, because they were going to do soft, hard, which was the original plan. The team Mercedes tell Hamilton to pick up the pace, saying that they don't need to worry about tire management at this point. Lap 28, Ocon noted for speeding in the pit lane, and he gets another 5-second penalty. So that's the 3rd penalty that Ocon received today. So really an absolute disaster for Ocon. Some of it self-inflicted, some of it not so much. Lap 29, Norris pits again for mediums. Lap 30, very tight battle for 10th place. I think at that point that was going to be between Albon and Tsunoda. Bottas pits for hards and Magnussen pits as well. Lap 31, Hamilton pits for hards, doesn't want to, says he wants to keep going. Stroll pits, stays ahead of Bottas, key. So first stop, Bottas had gotten ahead of Stroll, but this time Stroll stays ahead, showing, I think, the Aston Martin race pace is very good. Sargent pits as well. Lap 32, Sainz and Russell both pit. Lap 33, Stroll passes Russell at turn 4 for 7th place. So really showing, this was kind of where we started seeing how good the Aston Martin race pace was. And then Stroll gets fastest lap of the race. Unfortunately, it doesn't stay that way, but it would have been kind of nice if Stroll had gotten fastest lap at the end of the race. And so Zhou pits as well that lap. Alright, final page. Lap 34, Leclerc pits, stays on hards. So Alonso, Perez, and Verstappen haven't pitted yet, so I think showing that those 3 cars had really good tire management. They could really just pit whenever they felt like it. Lap 35, Perez pits for hards, 10-second gap between Russell and Bottas at this point, showing how the gap between the top 4 teams and the rest of the cars was just kind of gradually growing throughout the race. Alonso pits, comes out 6 as well. Lap 36, Verstappen boxes, and then here's probably one of the most fun moments of the race. Alonso and Hamilton going wheel to wheel. So Alonso tries to go down the inside of Hamilton turn 4. It looks like he kind of just slipped a little bit, or maybe he kind of went out of this, he kind of changed his line a little bit because he was worried that Hamilton was going to come down the inside and maybe have some contact with him. So he kind of avoids that, and Hamilton manages to stay ahead for the moment. And then 2 laps later, Alonso goes down the inside of turn 10. Wow. So yeah, I was really impressed by that. It was a great move. So basically he does the up and under at turn 9, and then goes out to the outside at turn 9, and then when it turns back towards turn 10, he cuts down the inside. So that's a great move, and I think it really caught Hamilton by surprise there. Let's see, lap 39, Hamilton trying to fight back. So Hamilton was trying to make moves at turn 4, but wasn't able to get past Alonso. Lap 40, massive lockup for Norris, who was a lap down. So he was in the same camera shot as both Hamilton and Alonso, and they just showed that he had a massive lockup. So that car looks absolutely like a dog to drive. Very frustrating, I'm sure, for Norris. Lap 41, this is one of the big turning points of the race. Leclerc comes to a stop at a turn 13, I think, so basically at the top of the hill near the end of the lap, and he just has no power. But he's able to kind of put the car off to the side, very close to one of the gates in the wall along the straight, and the VSC comes out. Gasly, as well as I think Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, and Zhou, Sargent as well. So I think pretty much all the cars from the 10th to 15th, except for De Vries, pit for new soft tires, which is definitely the right call. Let's see. So right after the VSC ends, Tsunoda passes De Vries, and Zhou comes close behind and passes De Vries as well. So for some reason, AlphaTauri decides to leave De Vries out on the hards. Maybe he didn't have any new softs, I don't know, but it was pretty poor strategy, I thought, for AlphaTauri. For De Vries, he was basically just a sitting duck and couldn't really do anything. Ocon pits and retires the car, so I guess at this point they just kind of given up. There wasn't really much point continuing, and you were just kind of trying to save wear off engine, gearbox, that kind of thing. Lap 45, Ferrari tells Sainz to push to defend from Alonso, who's gaining rapidly at this point. And Sainz says he can't because he doesn't think he has the tires to push that hard and not have to take another stop, which would put him probably behind Stroll and Russell. So really tough situation for Sainz. So Sainz locks up, and Alonso passes Sainz at turn 11. So, and this was right before there was contact at turn 4. So Sainz was so slow going out of turn 4 that Alonso basically went on the power right away and then was surprised, and looks like he almost hits Sainz. Luckily no damage for Alonso, but then the same lap, basically Sainz has a big lockup into turn 10, and then basically going into turn 11. So two really rare for Formula 1 cars overtakes on two really rare corners. So turn 10 and then turn 11 with Sainz. Lap 47, Sainz and Hamilton very close, but Hamilton's still behind. Lap 49, Norris pits for the 5th time. They said on the commentary that they're repressurizing something in the car. So yeah, they were basically pushing like fluid or air into the car because there was a crack in the car and there was air or fluid was basically leaking out. So definitely not ideal for McLaren. Lap 50, black and white flag for Hulkenberg for track limits, so he's basically just being a bit careless. Lap 52, Magnussen, De Vries, passes De Vries to P14 at turn 1. Lap 54, Hulkenberg gets a 5-second penalty for track limits. And then, let's see, close behind, Tsunoda, Albon for 10th place. So yeah, Albon and Tsunoda were having a nice battle for 10th, and because we're not really sure where the Williams and AlphaTauri are this year, these could be really important points for them in the constructors. Russell, Bottas gap was 15.5 seconds at this point, so just massive at this point. Lap 56, Zhou pits. Norris gets a 6th pit stop. 6th pit stop in a dry race is almost unheard of. So yeah, really absolute disaster for McLaren today. And lap 57, Verstappen crosses the line with an 11-second margin to Perez, and he wins the first race of the season, Bahrain Grand Prix. Gasly gets fastest lap, so a bit surprising. None of the fastest lap as a driver not from the top 4 teams. So the final result is Verstappen 1st, Perez 2nd, Alonso 3rd, Sainz 4th, 5th Hamilton, 6th Stroll. I think really good race for Stroll given circumstances. Obviously pretty far off Alonso's pace, but given where he was a week ago and not driving the car, I think pretty good race for Stroll. Hamilton, I think, will be a bit disappointed. Probably thinks he could have gone 4th. Sainz, rough weekend, was well off the pace of Leclerc. So I think 4th, he'll probably wish he got the podium. I think Alonso will be elated. That was an absolutely fantastic result for him. Perez, I think he's kind of just there. Probably isn't too happy, but isn't too upset either. And Verstappen was probably bored and wishing he was playing FIFA at the wheel. Let's see, Russell probably a bit disappointed with 7th. 8th Bottas, he's probably going to be quite pleased with that. Really good drive from him. Gasly 9th, so basically started 20th to 9th. Really good recovery. I think the Alpine has pretty good pace, probably 5th best on race pace, I would say. 10th Albon, fantastic for him. Of course, it's early doors, so we don't really know the exact running order, so the Williams could be a car that could be getting regular points, or it could be like last year where it's extremely difficult, but all the same, very good for Albon. 11th for Tsunoda, pretty good. Probably wishes he got that Albon for 10th, but I think overall pretty solid. 12th Sargent, excellent debut, I think. Was pretty close to Albon the whole race. didn't make any mistakes, didn't put a foot wrong. I think he can be very satisfied with his first Grand Prix. I think of the three rookies, he probably had the best race today. Lap 13, 13th Magnussen. I think so-so. The Haas race pace was not good. He finishes ahead of Hulkenberg though, and that's always important, beating your teammate. 14th De Vries, I think he kind of got screwed over with strategy. Otherwise, he probably would have been 12th, 13th, somewhere around there. It's looked a bit off the pace of De Vries of Tsunoda all weekend though. 15th Hulkenberg, bit of a tough race. After a great qualifying yesterday, got the black 5-second penalty, got contact and had to replace the front wing. After contact with Ocon on turn 4, the first lap, so not great. Zhou, 16th, not really sure, not much to say. Was well off the pace of Bottas, so that's not great. That's something that he's going to want to work on this season. 17th, Norris, absolute disaster. Obviously, no blame on Norris for this. It's just McLaren's car was absolutely awful today. And the 3 retirements were Ocon, Leclerc, and Piastri. So 3 retirements, unfortunately. Engine problems for Ferrari 1 lap into the season, which is, yeah, not ideal, because that was one of the big talking points from last year was Ferrari's reliability. So to see it creep up lap 1 race into the season is not great. So championship standings, of course, first race, so pretty much identical to championship standings. So first, Verstappen 25 points, Perez second 18 points, Alonso third 15 points, Sainz 4th 12 points, 5th Hamilton 10 points, 6th Stroll 8 points, 7th Russell 6 points, 8th Bottas 4 points, 9th Gasly 2 points, 10th Albon 1 point, 11th Tsunoda, 12th Sargent, 13th Magnussen, 14th De Vries, 15th Hulkenberg, 16th Zhou, 17th Norris, all on 0 points, and then Ocon, Leclerc, and Piastri are yet to be classified in the championship. So overall, not a super amazing race. I think there's some decent action between the Ferrari, Aston, and Mercedes, and I feel that at least for the opening races, that's probably all we're gonna get. But overall, pretty solid race. Some good overtaking. But yeah, that's all for today's ramble. So please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm interested to see what you thought of the race. I thought it was so-so, not amazing, not terrible. And please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching.